Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another edition of Keaton Talk Sports. In this video, I'll be giving you guys my NFC predictions for the 2025 NFL season. We will start off from first and work down to last and give you guys my reasoning for having each team in the position that they are in the division. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the video. First division, we'll do the NFC East. In first place, I had the Philadelphia Eagles finishing with a 12-5 record for the 2025 season. This Eagles team obviously won the Super Bowl last year, demolishing the Kansas City Chiefs in good fashion on both sides of the ball. Really frustrating the hell out of Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. Obviously, the Chiefs' offensive line was not strong at all. They obviously had injuries on the offensive line, the reason why they got blown out the way they did. But give the Eagles credit. They were strong on both sides all season, very consistent. Jalen Hurts played close to an MVP season. He was in MVP conversation all season. Strong defense, Milton Williams and the rest of that crew on that side, just strong on both sides. They really didn't have a weakness last year. That's pretty much the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles were able to cruise throughout the regular season, get that number one seed, and eventually win the Super Bowl in 2024-25 season. But at the end of the day, I still think this Eagles team, despite them losing a couple pieces on defense, I still believe this team is still the best team in the NFC East until further notice. I know there hasn't been a repeat champion, I believe, since 2001. And there's a lot of people that believe the Commanders can take over the NFC East, which I could see happening, by the way. But at the end of the day, I still love this Philadelphia Eagles team. I love what they did in the draft. I still believe this team is very deep. And I think whether if they repeat as Super Bowl champion or not, I still think they win the division once again in 2025, in my opinion. Second place, I have the Washington Commanders finishing with a 12-5 record for the 2025 season, just losing out on a tiebreaker for the NFC East to the Philadelphia Eagles. But at the end of the day, this Commanders team really had a good season last year. Jaden Daniels had a stellar rookie season, really surprising the hell out of everyone. Not really say surprised, but he surprised me because I didn't think he would have the type of rookie season that I thought that everybody else thought he would have. But he ended up having a great season. There's a lot of people that believe he's going to take a step back. I think Jaden Daniels is only going to get better, in my opinion. I mean, you still have talent offensively. You got Deebo Samuel, who you got from the 49ers. Obviously, we'll see how he progresses. Obviously, he's been dealing with some injuries past couple seasons. So we'll see what type of production he can bring to that Washington Commanders offense and stuff like that. Can Scary Terry get re-signed with the Washington Commanders? I think he will get a deal done before the season. I know there's a lot of rumors about him potentially getting moved, but I think the Washington Commanders, in my opinion, will be able to figure something out with him because he's too important for that team. I think if they feel if the Washington Commanders want to get to a Super Bowl, have a chance at a Super Bowl, they definitely need Scary Terry. I think if he ends up being gone, I just don't see any way the Commanders can get to the Super Bowl without him. I think he's just too valuable to that offense in terms of his skill set and what he brings to that team. But at the end of the day, I think Jaden Daniels is only going to get better. I think the Commanders have a shot at winning this division once again. I think they will be neck to neck with the Philadelphia Eagles, but I just have them losing out on a tiebreaker. But at the end of the day, whether if they win the division or they get a wild card spot, they're going to be a dangerous team. Just given what Jaden Daniels did last year, I think he's only going to continue to get better and elevate that team to a high standard in 2025. Third place, I have the Dallas Cowboys finishing with an 8-9 record for the 2025 season. This Dallas Cowboys team, in my opinion, had a disappointing offseason. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys on air about that. I did not like what Jerry Jones did to this team this offseason. There's been a lot of drama, a lot of just stuff going on with the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons not happy currently with his situation. He requested a trade. Is he even going to be a Dallas Cowboy come week one? Who the hell knows at the end of the day? But I know they got George Pickens from the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. He does fit the description to what they want to do offensively, but is it really going to move the needle for the Cowboys in terms of them making the playoffs? I just don't think it's going to make a difference, in my opinion. I don't think Dak Prescott performs well in big games. Obviously, he's a regular season stat player, but we all know when he gets to the postseason, he chokes every single year. There's not much discussion about the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think they improved at all this offseason. I don't think they're better than the Commanders or the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think they're a clear third in the NFC East. I don't think we need to go much in more detail about the Cowboys. They're gonna miss the playoffs once again in 2025. Last but not least, the New York Giants finished with a 3-14 record for the 2025 season. I'm not going to go much into detail about the New York Giants. They clearly have the hardest schedule in all of football. Just look at their first 10 games. Where do you really see a win at for the New York Giants? I know Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but he's on the wrong side of his career. He's not the same player like he used to be. In my opinion, I think Jameis Winston should get the start just because I think he can at least galvanize the troops and he'll at least be better than what Russell Wilson was last year going into this year. But regardless, the New York Giants are just a bad football team. They're going to be in the mix for a quarterback in next year's draft. I don't think either Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson will pay off for it. I know um, Jackson Dart just got drafted. We'll see how he does. He'll probably see the field at the end of the season if the Giants somehow end up outside of the playoff picture, if they're completely out of the playoffs by mid-season. But at the end of the day, it's just a bad situation. I would not start Jackson Dart this early in the season with that tough schedule. I would throw him in there later on in the season if the Giants are out of it by the halfway point and stuff like that. I think the only bright spot of the New York Giants is their defense. Abdul Carter, I believe, he's going to be a monster on that side. I think the Giants' defense will be pretty good. I think the defense will be the main reason why they win games, but I'm just not really sold with their offense. They're clearly the worst team in this division. I would not be surprised at all, or I would be surprised if they won more than 5 games. I think Giants fans are a bit delusional if you think you're going to win 7 or 8 games in 2025. I just don't see it. With that schedule in the division that you're in, I just don't see any way you get any more than maybe 5 wins at max. So I have them finishing with a 3-14 record, being in the mix for a top 3 pick in next year's draft. Next division, we'll do the NFC North. First place, I have the Detroit Lions finishing with a 10-7 record for the 2025 season. The Detroit Lions obviously had a very strong season last year, finishing with a 15-2 record, losing the divisional round to the Washington Commanders in very disappointing fashion. They did not show up in that game whatsoever. I know they had injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Just didn't have any answers to stop Jaden Daniels and that high-powered Commanders offense in that game, giving up 45 points at home. It was very disappointing performance by the defense for the Detroit Lions. But at the end of the day, despite the Detroit Lions losing both their coordinators in Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, on paper, this Detroit Lions team is still very good, right? Aaron Hutchinson is still there on the defensive side of the ball. Jared Goff and the rest of that crew on offense will still be highly productive. There's a lot of people that believe the Packers and or the Chicago Bears will take over the NFC North. I'm not buying it right now. I still think the Lions, like I said, despite them losing both coordinators, on paper, talent-wise, they're still clearly the best team in this division. I do have them taking a step back in the record. I don't think they're going to win 15 games, obviously, but this Detroit Lions team is still very good on paper. I still think they're clearly the best team still in the NFC North. We don't need to go much into more detail about that. Second place, I have the Green Packers finishing with a 9-8 record for the 2025 season. This Packers team, I like what they did this offseason, especially on defense. I believe their defense will be better in 2025, which is the reason why they ended up missing the playoffs last season. Their defense just wasn't consistent enough all season last year. Jordan Love, can he continue to progress at the quarterback position? Obviously, there's been some inconsistencies with him. Getting off to a slow start last year, but he did have a strong end to the season last year. But can he perform in the big games when it matters? Can he carry this Packers team to the playoffs, which he does have a chance to do? I think the Packers will give the Lions some issues, but at the end of the day, I do have the Packers just outside the playoff picture, just missing the playoffs, but I do believe they will be over 500 just because I think Jordan Love will do just enough to keep the Packers in games, and their defense will be much better than they were last year. Third place, I had the Minnesota Vikings finishing with a 8-9 record for the 2025 season. This Vikings team is a very interesting team because J.J. McCarthy obviously was out last year with the injury. Technically, he is in his second year, but he's technically a rookie. I love the Vikings defense. I think the Vikings defense will have a chance to be a top 5 defense in 2025. With all the personnel they have on that side. You still have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison to work with on offense if you're J.J. McCarthy. So he does have those two guys to disposal to work with offensively. I mean, like I said, you have a good offense and a solid defense. This Minnesota Vikings team, I believe, can shock some people this year. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they could prove me wrong. They can go 9-8 and potentially get in as a 7th seed. But I do believe they will improve from last year. I think they will be in the mix all season because, like I said, based off of their defense being stellar and the pieces they have offensively, I still believe the Minnesota Vikings will be good. Now, obviously, there's going to be a little bit of growing pains with J.J. McCarthy, stepping in, but I do believe with all of the supporting cast that he has, it's going to make the game easier for him, and he's not going to have to scramble out there. He has a good offensive line. He's not going to have to be running for his life because he has talent offensively to work with and a stellar defense. So at the end of the day, I think the Minnesota Vikings will be in the mix for a playoff spot, but I do have them on the outside looking in for the 2025 season. But a promising season, and maybe in 2026, they can move up in the division and potentially win it. Last but not least, the Chicago Bears. I have them finishing with a 7-10 record for the 2025 season. I know Bears fans are not going to be happy with this prediction, which I can completely understand because I know Bears fans have high expectations for this team. But at the end of the day, they have a difficult schedule. Just look at their last 8 games of the season. I have a very difficult time seeing the Bears. Like, where do you see a win at in the last 8 games? You pretty much play the entire division, including playoff teams that made it last year. That's a tough schedule for the Chicago Bears, and obviously the Bears' success is going to really come down to what Caleb Williams does, because I think the Bears go as far as Caleb Williams takes them. At the end of the day, he had a very disappointing season last year. The Bears, obviously, people thought this team would make the playoffs last year, and they just disappointed left and right every single week. Caleb Williams did not perform up to standard. Took probably one of the most sacks in the league. I think he was sacked 68 times last year, which was ridiculous. So, looking what the Bears did, you got Colson Loveland in the draft. I do think the defense will be a little bit better than what they were last year. But at the end of the day, I think the Bears, like I said, looking at their last 8 games, it's very tough. And I just don't believe in this team until I see it on the football field. Caleb Williams just simply has to show up with the talent that he has on offense and defense. If the Bears don't at least win 8 games in 2025, there could be some changes. I know Ben Johnson is there. I believe he will have his team playing and have this team stepping up in the right direction. But just based off looking at their schedule, it's a very, very tough schedule, especially in the last half of the season. I just don't see it for the Chicago Bears, but I could be wrong. But I think the Bears finished with a 7-10 record for the 2025 season based off of that schedule, not so much the talent. I think they do have talent, but their schedule is very tough. Next division is the NFC South. First place, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finishing with an 11-6 record for the 2025 season. Absolutely loved what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did in this year's draft, especially offensively. Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State, you put him next to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, now you have a 3-headed monster at wide receiver for Baker Mayfield to work with offensively. Baker Mayfield's going to have an absolute field day each week with those 3 guys to disposal to work with offensively. This Tampa Buccaneers team has a chance to be one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in football, with those weapons offensively. I mean, if you're Baker Mayfield, you couldn't have asked for anything better. Because at the end of the day, you have everything to your disposal offensively on top of a Todd Bowles led defense. If the defense continues to stay healthy and be more consistent on that side, I mean, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, I can't even really argue the reason why they can't get to the Super Bowl in 2025, or at least be in the mix to make the NFC title game to get to the Super Bowl in 2025. I don't think that's that crazy of a prediction, in my opinion, because if they stay healthy at the end of the day, this team has a shot to go far in the NFC. I don't think it's that crazy of a take. But at the end of the day, I think the Buccaneers, this is clearly still the best team in the NFC South until further notice. I know people have the Falcons or the Panthers fighting for the NFC South as well. I don't think those 2 teams are ready just yet, but they are taking steps in the right direction. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still the best team in the South until someone knocks them off. And I don't think we need to go much in more detail about that. This is clearly still the best team in the South. I think this team has a shot to go far if everything goes right and they stay healthy at the end of the day. Second, I have the Atlanta Falcons finishing with an 8-9 record for the 2025 season. Absolutely love what they did too in the draft, especially on the defense. Like I've been saying all along, the Falcons team, the main issue with them over the past couple of seasons is they have not been able to get pass rush on the quarterback. You got Jalon Walker from Georgia in the draft. I think he fits in tremendously for what the Falcons want to do on that side. You got James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee, another edge rusher who can get pressure on the quarterback. That's exactly what the Falcons lacked the past couple of seasons. I believe those two guys can make contributions in a big way for that Falcons defense. At the end of the day, you have talent offensively. You got Drake London still there, right? Kirk Cousins is still on the roster. Okay, Michael Penix is still on the roster. Who knows when he'll start? Can he start at the beginning of the season or will he start later on? I don't know. But at the end of the day, if the offense continues to show promise and improvement in 2025, if the defense can get more pass rush, this Falcons team has a shot at the division. But at the end of the day, I got to see it in order to believe it with this team. I do believe this team will be improved, will be more improved this year than they were last year. But I have them on the outside looking in until I see the Falcons' consistency at getting pressure on the quarterback in 2025. I have them on the outside looking in, but they do show promise in 2025, and maybe next year, if the defense continues to get better and better and better, Michael Penix continues to show that he's that guy for the Falcons moving forward, then this Falcons team can take over the division. But until I see it, I have them finishing second in the division at 8-9. Third place, I have the Carolina Panthers finishing with a 7-10 record for the 2025 season. This Panthers team, I like the direction that they're going in. Okay, at the end of the day, you got Ted McMillan from Arizona, the best wide receiver coming out of college. I believe that's a huge piece that Bryce Young needs to unlock Bryce Young's potential. At the end of the day, you got to surround Bryce Young with as many weapons as possible in order for him to have success in the NFL. At the end of the day, Bryce Young is a very small quarterback. The more talent you surround him with, the more protection that you give him on the offensive line, the better he's going to do. If he doesn't have any of that to his disposal, it's going to be hard for him to progress and get better as long as he's in the NFL at the end of the day. But the Panthers, I like what they did offensively. I think their offense will be better with Ted McMillan on offense. We'll see what their defense does. Their defense wasn't that good last year. If their defense can show somewhat improvement in 2025, then this Panthers team has a shot at being around 500, potentially in the mix for a wild card spot. But like I said, there's going to be some growing pains with this team sometimes. Okay, in my opinion, I think they're a clear third in the division behind the Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But this team, again, I think they will show some promise. But there's going to be a little bit, like I say, with the new pieces, they're just trying to figure each other out and try to get that chemistry down at the end of the day. I think there's going to be some ups and downs, but promising. I think the Panthers fans should be excited for this year and for the future. Last but not least, the New Orleans Saints finished with a 4-13 record for the 2025 season. I mean, there's not really much to say about the Saints. I think they're clearly going into the season with Spencer Rattler at quarterback to start. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that this team's going to tank for a quarterback in next year's draft. Obviously, there's not much to say about the Saints. I think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Obviously, there's been discussion about Archie Manning going to the Saints, but obviously he's going back to college, so he's not even going to be available. So what do the Saints do with him not being available? Are they going to go get another quarterback? Like, what's the direction with the Saints? I think this is going to be an important year for the Saints. Obviously, they're not going to be a playoff team. They're not even going to be in the conversation, but I think this is an important year for them to try to figure out their foundation, what they want to be as a team going forward. That's pretty much all I got to say about the Saints. I'm not going to go much into more detail about them. This is easily one of the worst teams in the league. Obviously, I was very generous giving them 4 wins because looking at their schedule, I think they can steal some games. But it wouldn't even surprise me at all if they go 1-16 or 2-15 or something like that if they decide to just lose games on purpose to try to get that number 1 pick in next year's draft. Last but not least, the NFC West. In first place, I have the Los Angeles Rams finishing with a 12-5 record for the 2025 season. This is clearly still the best team in the NFC West, in my opinion. Matthew Stafford, an absolute gunslinger. You have Devontae Adams, who you got from the Jets. Obviously, he didn't have the type of season he wanted last year based off of Aaron Rodgers' poor performance week in and week out. Now you have you're in a better situation with the Los Angeles Rams with a better quarterback and Matthew Stafford, who can give Devontae Adams more opportunities offensively to be himself and to be that type of wide receiver that can help this Rams team be more productive offensively in 2025. Puka Nacua is still there also for Matthew Stafford to work with, so he has some weapons to work with offensively. If the defense continues to take a step in the right direction and be better than what they were last year, there's really no reason why this Rams team can't be in the Super Bowl conversation in 2025. I'm very high on the Rams. I believe this is Matthew Stafford's last opportunity, in my opinion, to get that Rams team to the Super Bowl and win it at the end of the day. You were able to do it back in 2021 when you beat the Cincinnati Bengals that year when you had Aaron Donald on the defense side of the ball. Very stellar defense, very high-powered offense. You were able to get it done that year. This is, my opinion, his last opportunity to get the Rams to that point once again. If everything goes right, if he stays healthy and the rest of the supporting cast stay healthy at the end of the day, there's really no reason why this Rams team can't be near the top of the NFC in 2025 and potentially be in that Super Bowl when it's all said and done. Second place after the San Francisco 49ers, finishing with an 11-6 record for the 2025 season. This 49er team had a very disappointing end to last year. You finished with a 6-11 record, injury after injury after injury on both sides of the ball. I just believe this 49er team is going to bounce back in a big way. I think this team is getting a little bit disrespected. There's people out there saying this team's going to finish in last place and be one of the worst teams in the league. I just think this team has too much competitive spirit with the certain players they have on that team. I just think Kyle Shanahan is going to get this team playing at a high level in 2025. And I just think this team is going to be highly motivated coming off of last year, going into this year, to win games and to prove the world wrong. Like, we're here. We obviously know the San Francisco 49ers identity is on the defense side of the ball. Their defense took a step back last year. Like I said, they were dealing with a bunch of injuries. Now you're getting all those guys back. The defense is going to be much better. Brock Purdy obviously has been getting a lot of criticism. Can he be that guy that gets the 49ers over the hump and win the Super Bowl? There's been a lot of questions about that with him. But I believe the 49ers on both sides of the ball will bounce back. And I believe this will be a playoff team in 2025. I do have the 49ers making the playoffs as a 6th seed in 2025. Third place, I had the Seattle Seahawks finishing with a 9-8 record for the 2025 season. This Seahawks team, the more I look at them on paper, this team is looking very, very scary. Because at the end of the day, we all know what the identity of this team is on the defensive side of the ball. You have a defensive-minded coach in Mike Macdonald with all of the personnel that the Seahawks already have on that side. I believe at the end of the year, this team could be a top 5. This team could potentially be a top 5 defense if everything goes right for them. On top of a very sneaky, underrated offense with Sam Darnold, JSN, and Cooper Kupp on that side. I believe Sam Darnold, I don't think he's going to replicate what he did last year with the Minnesota Vikings, because obviously you had Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, who made Sam Darnold look better, because based off of how gifted Justin Jefferson is, obviously when you have a gifted wide receiver to your disposal to work with, obviously he's going to make you look good, because you can rely on him week in and week out to catch the football and to make the offense better and stuff like that. I'm not saying that JSN and Cooper Kupp are anywhere near Justin Jefferson's level or Jordan Addison's level, but JSN, I believe he will have a big year in my opinion. I do believe Sam Darnold, like I said, all he really has to do is play average football. He doesn't even have to replicate what he did last year. You play average football, you take care of the football, don't put the team in jeopardy by doing too much with the football, turn the ball over, just make the simple play. If nothing's there, throw the ball away, keep the turnovers down, because you already have a solid defense, which should be a top 5 defense when it's all said and done, right? So if your defense is getting stops consistently, I believe the defense is going to be the reason why the Seahawks win games. And if Sam Darnold can do his job and not turn the ball over, if the Seahawks can get a good running game going and just be balanced, there's really no reason why this Seahawks team can't be in the wild card mix at the end of the season. I am high on the Seahawks. I think they're getting a little bit disrespected as well. There's people out there that have them winning like 6-7 games. I just think they're a lot better than what they're given credit for. And I think the Seahawks team will be in the mix based off of their defense. And if Sam Darnold can continue to take care of the football and just make the simple play for his team. Last but not least, I have the Arizona Cardinals finishing with a 7-10 record for the 2025 season. Obviously, the past couple of seasons, the biggest problem with the Cardinals is they haven't been able to get pass rush on the quarterback. You took care of that in the draft. You got guys like Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. You got Will Johnson, who obviously was dealing with injuries last year, but if healthy, he should have been in the first round if he didn't get hurt. Big physical cornerback who was one of the best at his position at the University of Michigan. I believe they took care of that. I believe both of them, if they're healthy, they should be able to be highly productive at their respective positions and make that defense much better in terms of getting to the pass rush and be able to get stops in crucial moments for that team. But at the end of the day, I have them finishing with a 7-10 record just because of the division that they're in. I just not really high on Kyler Murray at quarterback. I believe I give him 2 years to figure this thing out. Can he be able to carry this Cardinals team to the playoffs this season? You have Marvin Harrison Jr. still on that side. You still have a little bit of weapons on that side of the offense for Kyler Murray to work with. But again, his consistency has to be better, in my opinion, if the Cardinals want to have any shot at potentially making the playoffs in 2025. I think this is a big year for Kyler Murray. I think he has to at least get his team to the playoffs, or else you're really going to have to start looking elsewhere at quarterback if you're the Cardinals, because I just don't believe Kyler Murray is going to get this team anywhere. I don't think he's going to carry this team to a Super Bowl run or anything like that. I just don't think he's that guy that's highly motivated. I mean, there's weeks where he looks like a top-tier quarterback, and there's other weeks where he's just absolutely non-existent. And it's just like his consistency is all over the place. I just think in this division, I just think there's better teams, in my opinion. I just don't see the hype with the Cardinals, and I just think they're a last-place team finishing with a 7-10 record. And obviously, the defense I have to see what the defense does. Can the defense be consistent as well at getting to the quarterback, which has been the struggle with this team over the past couple of seasons. So at the end of the day, the Cardinals finished last place at 7-10 outside the playoffs once again. And like I said, I think if they miss the playoffs once again, I think there's going to be some changes within the organization. I think it starts with Kyler Murray if he doesn't perform well up to standard in 2025. My division winners for the 2025 NFL season: Los Angeles Rams, Philadelphia Eagles, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions. My wildcard teams for the 2025 season: Washington Commanders, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks. Teams missing the playoffs: Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, Dallas Cowboys, Chicago Bears, Atlanta Falcons, Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, and the New York Giants. And that wraps it up for this video. Those are my NFC predictions for the 2025 NFL season. Do you guys agree? Disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. The season is just around the corner, so make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel. I am currently 17 subscribers away from 700. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you again for tuning in to another edition of Keaton Talk Sports. Until the next video, peace.